For Inside Carolina, I'm Taylor Vippolis. This is the IC legend, Greg Barnes. Greg, Caleb Love carries North Carolina into the Elite Eight, 27 points in the second half. What did you kind of see from your vantage point on press row?
Well, I think UCLA has seen what we've seen all season long, where Caleb can get hot from three, but he's really struggled inside the arc. We saw that in the first half. Hubert Davis did a good job kind of drawing up some plays to allow Caleb to get in the paint. He had success, made a few tough buckets. And once he did that, UCLA had to back off a little bit, gave him some room on the perimeter. And as you know, as everybody knows, when Caleb gets hot, he gets fire hot, and UCLA just had no answer.
Yeah, it was the Caleb Love show. UCLA, like Greg mentioned, they forced Caleb to try to win the game at the basket, somewhere he hasn't really been that efficient, and he made a couple tough shots, and then once he started getting going there, it was basically over. But, Greg, you've been covering North Carolina basketball now for 15 years. When you're watching Caleb Love up close and real personal on the court, where would you say he ranks in terms of confidence and for a PC crowd will say how much he's actually talking out there?
You know, I think you have to go back before my time, and you have to go back to Rashad McCants. He's got a killer mindset. He does not lack for confidence. He wants to take the big shot, and he likes to talk, which is pretty wild. Rashad was the same way. The other name I would throw in there, probably two of them, Wayne Ellington and Marcus Page. Those were not big talkers on the court, but they made clutch buckets when North Carolina needed them. Guards, of course. And I think when you're talking about Caleb Love, along with Rashad McCants, along with Marcus Page, along with Wayne Ellington, that's a pretty high level of guard, and that's what Caleb's showing us right now.
It's a good crowd to be a part of when you're talking about those guards, and it's the type of guards where these tournaments are made for them. But for this North Carolina team, it's not just Caleb Love. They have four guys in their starting five who can go for 20-plus points on any given night, and then the fifth guy in that starting lineup is Leaky Black, who works tirelessly on the defensive side of the ball, and he could kind of take away one option for the opposing team, their best perimeter player normally. And it's a starting five that has played together 879 possessions, which is just a ridiculous number when you say it out loud. What has been the most impressive thing with that starting five that you've seen that has kind of led them to be so much more efficient during this late run?
I think any time that you can spread the ball around and have success, that helps your efficiency. And the fact that we're talking about, Caleb Love had 21 points in the first half against Marquette. Brady Manick went 26-28. R.J. Davis had 30 against Baylor. And then we saw what Caleb does. I mean, that's three games where three different guys really lifted the team. And as you said, Baycott hasn't even had kind of a huge, massive game yet. I think that's likely coming on Sunday. But when you can move the ball like that and have success, while at the same time a guy like Leaky, as you mentioned, taking away the best threat on the other end, it's just a lot for teams to contend with.
Caleb Love said that they celebrated last night. Today, the attention has been all on St. Peter's. St. Peter's, the 216th team, according to Ken Palm, for offensive efficiency. But if you go down to Kentucky, you go down to Murray State, you go down to Purdue, they're going to tell you that St. Peter's is a lot better than the 216th most efficient offense. What have you kind of seen from the Peacocks so far?
Well, I think the fascinating story about St. Peter's is that they had a month break because of COVID. On December 18th, same day Carolina lost to Kentucky in Vegas, they lost to Stony Brook, who was one of the worst teams in the country. Went on about a month break. During that stretch, Shaheen Holloway had to really change everything. And so he started to expand his roster, his lineup. I mean, he plays basically 12 guys. The leading scorer, I think, has 12 points per game. And he really changed how he plays defense. And so he does a lot of mixing and matching schemes. And since that time, since they came back, they've won 19 in their last 25 games. They've won 10 in a row. They're one of the top teams nationally in defensive efficiency. And while they're not great offensively, they make clutch baskets. And if you watch the Purdue game, I mean, I think they made 19 of 21 free throws down the stretch, which is phenomenal. So they're doing enough defensively to give themselves a chance to make a few buckets and win some of these games.
I've seen some parallels between Shaheen Holloway and Hubert Davis, especially when you're talking about those early season or the midseason losses. Both coaches have said, enough. Let's stop talking about them. We're in the Elite Eight for a reason. We'll see how that plays out tomorrow as Carolina goes from the underdog role to now the villain in the tournament, going up against America's Cinderella. But in the meantime, stay tuned to Inside Carolina for more March Madness coverage. I have a saying, you can never get enough Greg Barnes.